Hey you, and welcome back to Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. My name is Satchmo. This is episode 31 if my notes are correct. Today I have a mission to haul the extra large landing gear into a suborbital trajectory over Minimus. And I figured since we did some gravity scans last week, and I'd like to do some more gravity scans for some extra science, we can kind of combine those two missions. So you see I load up the gravity scanner that we did last week, and I try to kind of find a place to attach this extra large landing gear. I decided just to add a little bit more, another tank here to give me space so I can put it on the top stage instead of the bottom stage. And I kind of flipped it around, and it kind of looked nice actually on the side there. Doesn't really have a function or a purpose, but it does kind of blend into the rest of the craft, so that was good enough for me. And then here I toyed around with the idea of putting on a heat shield and just decoupling the actual canister, the science canister, back to Kerbal. But I didn't want him going with it. I want him going with just returning the probe and the can all attached together. And then the last thing I did here is just added a little extra fuel in the bottom stage just because, and launched it. So today we're going to do something kind of fun. Today we're going to go to the moon first. And what I'm doing is I'm setting the target as the moon. And if you see on the nav ball there, when the moon's about at 30 degrees, I think it's like 30 to 45 degrees-ish, you can just kind of launch directly upward. And that'll be kind of a trajectory for you to intersect the moon. I don't believe it's the most efficient way to do it. In fact, I think it's pretty inefficient because you're fighting the atmosphere for so long. And I don't think you're not using any of gravity's, any of Kerbin's actual like orbital momentum to add to your velocity. So this is not an efficient way to do it. I'm not recommending you do this, but it is something if you want a quick and easy way to get to the moon and you have the delta V in the budget, you can kind of wait until the moon's kind of at this angle and then just launch and go straight up. And that's what I did here, just kind of for fun because we haven't done that yet. And now what I'm doing is I'm setting Minimus as my target. And I'm setting up a maneuver at the ascending node to see if I can get an intercept with Minimus, and I'm just kind of fiddling with it, moving things around. The two things I'm concerned with, of course, are not only getting an intercept with Minimus, but also not crashing into Kerbal meantime. So here I changed my, I set up a maneuver node to change my path around the moon to see if I can get a better intercept, and indeed I did. So it just takes some fiddling here to kind of get it messed with. It's important to do this at the ascending node to make sure that your plane, or the descending node, I guess, depending on what the situation is. But that way the plane will match up. And there we go. I got one that not only intersected Minimus, but also gave me kind of a wide berth around Kerbal, so I didn't burn up on reentry. Or reenter at all, of course. And yeah, so this is going to be kind of a single one burn launch to the moon. I'm going to go around the moon. Here we go, I'm just making that small first adjustment. And because the first adjustment wasn't perfect, I am going to have to make a small adjustment to the maneuver node here, but that was minor. So there we go. Now I just warp into the SOI of the moon. Take up some gravity scans while we're here. We're just going to be passing by, but there's no reason we can't go ahead and grab the science from the moon, since we haven't done any gravity scans here yet. And so all I'm doing is just kind of warping by and waiting till the that mod that I have, Science Here and Now, waiting until that stops me and tells me that I have a new piece of science to get. So there we go, kind of a gentle flyby of the moon. And then we're back out into Kerbal's SOI. Now we're just waiting for that maneuver to slingshot us the rest of the way to Minimus. Now this portion of the video, I guess, is pretty efficient, or somewhat efficient. We're using the moon's gravity to help us out, and then we're doing kind of a maneuver around Kerbal here to help us get it out to Minimus. Altogether, though, it is still a relatively inefficient mission, simply because I just didn't, there's just no reason to be efficient at this point. I have the money and the know-how to just kind of do brute force methods like this, so I figured why not. So here I'm changing, just making small adjustments to that maneuver, and also checking the, just kind of checking the delta V on this capture burn here, just to kind of see where I am, just to kind of make sure I'm within budget. And of course I am, but I figured I would check anyway. And so here we are going into a nice, setting up a nice polar orbit on Minimus. Again, I explained this last time, but I'll say it just briefly, that if you're in a polar, you see the way Minmus is spinning there. If you're in a polar orbit, then the planet will rotate from underneath you, and as you go around the planet, you'll catch all of the biomes over time. So that's why I wanted to do that. So here I'm doing just enough of a capture burn, just enough of a burn to capture me, and then I'm flying up to my apoapsis. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease my periapsis. There we go. Just until I get suborbital, and then that satisfies that mission. So there we go. I did manage to haul that landing gear in a suborbital trajectory of Minmus, so mission success. Now I'm just going to kind of fly around the planet and collect all the science. I make a small change here in a minute, and that is I'm in kind of two different main situations here. Right now, you can see I'm in space near, and then as I go up on the high, this is a high eccentricity orbit, as I go, most of it is in space high. So, and the problem is that because by the nature of things, the in space high tends to be over the poles, and both of them tend to be over the poles is the idea. So, I'm only really catching in space near, on the bottom of the planet. I'm not catching any in space near situations around the side of the planet. So here in a moment, I make an adjustment to kind of circularize, so that way I can be in space high for the entire orbit and in space near for the entire orbit later. So here I am right here, just making that small change. I buff, what am I trying to say? My periapsis. I bump my periapsis up. So now I'm just in space high, and I can go and get all the science from in space high, which does take me a minute here to get. There we go, grab one more, and then you can see I have one more down there in the bottom right-hand corner. It kind of takes me a minute to get, but I just fly around the planet several times to get it. And then eventually I decrease my orbit to in-space near, and then I just go around the planet with the in-space near situation until I get all of the different biomes. Now, something I'll mention here, in fact, I'm going to wind up editing out a small portion of this because it did take quite a significant amount of time. You see I have 4 situations for in-space near left to get, and 1 situation for in-space high. And it takes a while, and all I'm doing is just time warping, and then it stops me when I get to a new biome, and then I'm time warping, and it stops me when I get to a new biome. And it just takes a long time to actually to just go around the planet and do. There's no real cost to it except for my, in real life time. Because I have solar panels on here, and it's a probe, so there's really no reason to not just keep doing this, except for that it just takes a long time to do. I would like, and this mod's great. I do enjoy this mod quite a lot. It just takes out some of you can imagine how long this would take if I had to do it by eye, if I had to actually look at all the biomes and then compare it against the list or something like that. It would take quite a long time. So the fact that this thing will stop your time warp whenever you get close to or whenever you're in a particular situation is fantastic. There it is. I finally get the in-space high one. So now I only have the in-space near one, so I'm going to adjust my orbit here to grab some in-space near science. And, what I was going to say is that, I would prefer it if this mod were if you were able to set some kind of threshold. So either one of two things in my mind, or both, to be able to actually tell it, only stop me if I hit this situation. So I only want to get, in space near, Minmus's flats, and, if it detects that you're in that specific situation, then it'll stop time warp. That would have been fine. Or just to see how we have most of the science, but not all of the science, because it's not 100% efficient. These gravity scans aren't. It'd be nice if there was some kind of threshold that says if you have any science at all from this biome, don't stop time warp. Like, I'll only want the biomes that I haven't gotten any science for at all. That would have been kind of nice. But I'm not complaining. It's a really great mod, and I do appreciate it, of course, being put out there for free. And it's very, very helpful. But it is something that I think would make a pretty significant improvement in my mind, because that would really speed things up. So anyway, as you see here, I'm just going round and round and round the planet, waiting to get those last couple of pieces of science. There's one, and then I have what looks like the flats and the lesser flats. So I have a couple more to get. I think the lesser flats comes up pretty quick, but the flats took me what seemed like 1,000 hours for me to just go round and round and around this planet. You run into the risk here of because what I'm doing, I'm just pressing the greater than button, or the period button, however you prefer to think of it, several times until I finally get that, until I finally get the biome that I'm looking for. Of course, you run the risk of just kind of mashing that button and then passing it up once you hit it. So, not only does this take a long time to actually do, you also have to be somewhat aware for a pretty significant amount of time. There we go, finally grabbed that one. Then now the only one I'm waiting for is the flats, and it kind of takes me a long time to do the flats. So here in a minute, I just make a cut in the video so you can get to the point where I actually do the flats, because it just took forever to go around this planet. When you're this close to the planet doesn't have a whole ton of time to rotate from underneath you before you hit another biome. So you see I'm just hitting biome after biome after biome after biome, and all of that, it just takes a long time to keep hitting those same biomes, because of course there's like slopes all over the planet and different biomes that are pretty consistent throughout the planet. So you're going to hit all of those every single orbit, or every single half orbit if you prefer to think of it that way. At any rate, with given enough time, I did wind up doing it. So all I do here is just an escape burn, kind of anywhere. I don't really care where. And then I warp over to my apoapsis to bring down my periapsis. And then from here on out, it's all pretty standard stuff. The exciting part of this mission to me, the only real reason to do this, I guess, is twofold. One, because it's kind of fun to do the situation with the moon, where you just fly directly up, hit the moon, and then I managed to couple that with a couple of small maneuvers that was slingshot me around the moon. Well, no, I don't think I really went around the moon, but I did interact with the moon, and then around Kerbal, and then back out to Minmus, which was fun, kind of an advanced thing to do, even if we are in Kerbin's SOI. And then the second thing here is just to get all the science from Minmus, and a little bit from the moon as well. The only reason we didn't do the moon first and like complete the moon and then go to Minmus is because I had that mission to bring the landing gear to Minmus, and so I really wanted to do that mission. And I was worried that had I spent a lot of time around the moon, that I wouldn't have enough Delta V to go to Minmus and get all of Minmus and then come back, which I guess wouldn't have been that big a deal. I could have got all of the moon, and then we got the mission from Minmus, and then if I started to get low on Delta V, just come back then. But I don't know. I felt like I would just get all of Minmus first. So there we go. Sent back the little science container situation on the probe core, and just gently fall back down to the planet. So for this mission, we wound up getting a pretty significant amount of science. In fact, we'll see it just here in a second. There we are. Wound up getting 1385 science, brings up to 2260. So unfortunately, I need like 50 more. You see, I have 20, not 50, I need a little more than that. 260 out of 550. So 320 more, if I'm not wrong. And so what I decided to do is come over to the DSS, and sure enough, I actually had built up 500 science in the DSS. So after a quick transmit back to KSC, I just go back to the Space Center, and then I have enough science to, here we are, let's go ahead and complete our tree. On kind of an unlikely one too in the metamaterials. So there we go. With that science, and of course because of our previous efforts with the DSS, we managed to have enough science to completely fill our tree, and that was kind of criteria one in this Let's Play, is that I wanted to demonstrate completing the entire science tree, and so I have done. Pretty excited about that. So what have we done so far? We got all of Kerbin taken care of. We've got Duna and Ike taken care of. We've got Drez and Elu taken care of. So only a couple relatively difficult ones left. We've got Moho to go explore. We've got Eve and Jewel, and all of the Jewel systems. I don't think I'm missing one. I think those are the only ones. Of course, Jewel has like 7 different bodies inside of it as well. And I think Eve has a moon. Oh, I don't remember right now. But anyway, there's like 3 main bodies to go to, and then a couple other ones that we can kind of choose to. So I don't know how much longer this series will go on. I might morph this into something else later on, where we start doing like kind of bigger and better things. Right now, I'm gonna kind of try to stay focused on making sure that I'm just completing my original goal, which was again to do the tree and then to go to all the bodies, and then later on we can build it into something else. But while I'm talking about it, I'm also thinking about doing an Astroneer Let's Play. I might be starting that sometime soon and kind of dovetail the end of KSC, or KSP rather, into Astroneer or some other game. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you guys are interested in a particular game or interested in anything else that I can do in this game. Again, I might morph this Let's Play into kind of another Kerbal Space Program Let's Play where I do something different. Maybe I build bases all around the solar system, or I do different mods or something like that, and we play with, I don't know, realism overhaul or something, I don't know. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I really appreciate you hanging out, and yeah, you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.